Hello, I'm Dara, and welcome to my beef farm. As you saw there, I was just moving the cows on to another fresh section of grass. Weather is really mucky at the moment. It's not all that it's raining, but it's just this real misty, cold, murky weather. Whatever is in it, it's nearly worse than an inch of rainfall, and just seems to bring the moisture up from the bottom, and then the moisture falling from the sky seems to meet it, and everything just gets real mucky. So you may have seen going out there, the calves have nose paddles in again, so we have the last of the nose paddles put into the weanings. So there's 15 here in this group, and that'll be all the spring calf and cows will be weaned off then, and it's not before time. I'm glad I got the paddles into them now. I put them in on Saturday. Today is Monday, so I'll take them out now on Friday. Cows will go into the shed and calves will go back out to grass. They're actually very settled. There's one or two calves kind of balling there, calves that would be on milkier type cows, but there's no bother with them. You might say there's woeful lush grass there to be taking cows off calves, but I'm kind of leaving the cows on the paddock then for a day longer just to clean it out to the ground. Now I know they're doing a small little bit of damage there, but I'm not too worried about this field. It will be sprayed off and reseeded the first chance I get next spring. I took away the bigger calves, all the ones that were weaned already, so there's 30 gone in another group, and I'll show you them in a few minutes. I'm still working the creep feeder with the creep gate. The calves are out here this side of the wire. Now I won't move the gate today, now just on the being a bank holiday. I'll do it tomorrow. There's plenty of grass there, and tomorrow I'll move the creep feeder there, and then the calves can pop out through it and go on and eat the best grass out of this paddock. And then the cows then can clean this paddock down to the scut then, and then it'll be closed up for the spring. So I'll just show you where they came off. So that's where the cows are after coming off there. There's a bit of trampling along the wire, and they nearly did that while I was putting up the next strip wire, kind of back and forth across the fence. So they did a good job on it in general. An awful lot of docks on this field, and that's one of the main reasons why I want to reseed this paddock there. It's just terrible running docks, and I'm tired of spraying them and getting no use spraying them, so I think the only thing is a full reseed. So that's the story here. We'll put a bag of meal in the creep feeder, and I'll go down and I'll show you the other calves then. So that's the meal in the hopper. A lovely palatable looking ration, and it's coming out the front for him there. So if anyone has never seen a creep feeder before, that's what it is. So you may go in now, missus, and get your bit to eat, and then we'll go down and have a look at the other weanlings. We've just walked the weanlings down to the grass now, where they're going to be for the next week or more, hopefully. So you can see there's super grass on it. I was going to graze this with the dairy beef bullocks that I put in last week, but I said with the weather bad and things like that, they'd only kind of mess it, so I put them in, and I said I'd keep it for the likes of these fellas. They look really nice now when they're taken away. from the cows when you can see them on their own, and when they're taken away from the smaller weanlings as well. I'd be very happy now with the quality of the cattle I have there. And I know one thing's for sure, I'd rather be breeding them than trying to go out to the marts and buy them now. To put that group of 30 weanlings together there, we'd know all about the check you'd have to write. So heads are down. This is our first time on their own now, their own little independence. So hopefully they won't start bawling that they'll miss the company of having the other cows. I know they're not their own mothers. I won't give them any meal down here. Just on grass now and get the paddocks grazed out and graze out fairly well. It's a nice brisk morning now, but it's pretty cold. But what I might do in a couple of days maybe is put a round feed or a silage with them and give them the silage with the grass. And I think a bit of roughage would be as good for them now as having them on meal. I'm not a big fan of trying to work trucks, especially if you're moving calves every few days. You have to be down with a tractor and lifting trucks and walking through muck and gutter. I'm not a fan of that this time of the year. I'd much rather put a round feeder with them there and get a bit of roughage into them. And at least that way then I'm kind of getting them ready for the winter time and they're used to eating silage. So if they did have to go in kind of quickly there if the weather deteriorated, at least then it's not a shock to their system and they're used to eating grass. So I leave them out there and I'll go do something else. These are the last beef heifers I have out. There's 11 of them there. They're jumping back and forth over that wire. There is another square of grass up there and there's another paddock over beyond. But what I'm thinking now is the way the weather has kind of gone a bit skittery, I'm going to bring him back this way closer, going into the shed. So I'm going to let him into this paddock here. Then maybe tomorrow or the next day then I'll bring him up and house him. So I at this stage I'd nearly rather have them in and settle in on a diet. Again, they're kind of on the lighter side, or sub 460 kilos. So I'd rather bring them in now and just kind of get him settled in now. As I said, I wouldn't be pushing them on, just tipping them on 2 kilos of meal and silage until we ramp them up to finish them out there, grow a bit more frame on them first. But I don't think they're going to be doing a whole lot out on grass, and I'd much prefer to leave that grass there for the weanlings. I've a lot of weanlings that I can keep out. They're lighter on ground and they'd still tip away and do no damage. So that's what I've decided to do. I'm just going to let them back out here. As today's bank holiday Monday, I don't want to be doing anything more than I have to do today. I'm going to move them out here and they'll be heading back towards the roadway then, and either tomorrow or the next day then we'll bring them up and we'll house them. Now here they're coming on there now. You can see all the damage they do when they're sheltering there, and I hate the sight of that damage now, and that's not even from putting a truck or a round feeder there. So I'd much rather them now coming back down this way in towards the shed. Come on, six. Come on, on you come on. Just need a little coaxing along. Actually, they're not bad heifers, those ones now. So I think they've done well since the bigger heifers were taken out of it. Whatever is in it, always when you seem to draft out the bigger heifers, that the lighter ones then kind of come on. I suppose the same competition is not there for grass. So that's another movement done. I know things are kind of quiet this time of the year on the farm. There's not a whole lot to be videoing or not a whole lot strange going on. So just mundane jobs like this now, just keeping things moving and just making decisions. And I suppose this time of the year nearly all your decisions are based on the weather, and that's the way it is now. So said we get these lads in the next couple of days. So I'm a good bit along since I last showed you the shed there. I have it all finished and it's all sprayed. I just have a couple of roof trusses here in the workshop, and I'm getting ready to take them out and put them on the trailer and bring them up to the brother-in-law. So there's the two centre trusses with the double cleats, and the one down on the ground there with the single cleat. They all came shot blasted and primed, and I'm after putting 2 coats of green paint on it, so there should be no fear of it now. I almost forgot to show you the shed up in the trailer. So that's a 3-bay lean-to shed, flat packed, sitting on a trailer. All the pillars are on the outside, roof trusses in the middle, timbers, gutters, there's a bit of railing for another job, and we have our buy for lifting them up is there. So if it's snuggly on the trailer, I get going now and get up here and get putting it up. So I'm back in the workshop, and as you saw from the last video, I think I said I didn't want to be back here again having to cut any of the pillars if I made a mistake, and unfortunately that's where I'm at. I've made a mistake, and the worst thing about it is I can't figure out where the mistake was made. But the gist of it is the front pillar of the shed is about 6 inches too short, or about 165mm. So when we were working on site, we put up our back pillars, and then we offered up our front pillar, but we didn't bolt it to the ground, and we lifted up a roof truss because I wanted to make sure that the front pillar, the 4 holes in that, would line up perfectly with the 4 holes of the roof truss, bolt them together. There was no point going bolting them all the whole way down along and then realising you're out by an inch or something like that. So when we offered up the roof truss and bolted on at the back, when we had it held up with a strap, and then when we dropped it down, it wasn't matching up right at all with the front pillar. The angle was wrong, and also it was pulling the back pillar forward as well. So couldn't figure it out for a while what was going on. Thought my holes were wrong and the angle was wrong, and eventually we gave the roof truss a lift, and then it became evident that the front pillar was short. Now I don't know how that happened. When we were setting up for measuring, I'd set up a jig. You see, I set up a timber in the air at the back and a timber in the air at the front, set up vertically that way, and I pulled the string from one to the other at an angle and out over another shed where it's going, and we measured from the ground up to the string at the back and the same at the front. Now we were taking that measurement off the top of the tank, as that was going to be our level, so there was going to be a base put at the front, and then the back pillars were going to be stood on the wall itself. So that was done. If any mistake I thought should have been made was my pillars would be nearly 8 inches too long. But I don't know where I went wrong, which is the kind of puzzling thing about it. It's kind of annoying as well, because if I ever want to make a shed again, I don't want the same mistake happening again. But I'll just show you anyway what I've had to do here. So that's the original pillar there, up along, and base plate on it. What I decided then was I cut off the base plate. That fella, I'd cut him off, and then I'd grind up all that again down along, clean off the paint off it, and cut 165mm and weld it in. So this plate then obviously was up here, so he had to be moved down 6 inches and re-welded back on, and then I had to weld back on the base plate. At least by welding on down here the 6 inches, there's going to be concrete up to about there, so actually the mistake is not going to be seen at all. It's because it'll be all underground with concrete, so it'd be worse if I had to go cut the top of the pillars and do an extension up there. But hard enough joining on that stuff and keep everything straight, because it's not, because you're joining up kind of H's and edges and things like that, and that H iron has a bit of flexibility in it. It's not the easiest thing to join up, but I've happy enough with the way they came together. And as I said, when the concrete is poured around them, there won't anybody know whether I welded on 6 or 8 inches on it, or whether I made a big boo boo when I was doing the shed. And I have that done now so far on 3 pillars, and I just have another section cut. And if you saw in the video, I actually cut 14 inches off those pillars, and now I'm putting 6 inches back on them. And that's really annoying now that mistake was made. But look, as I said, it's not the end of the world. It was spotted before we'd any of the front pillars bolted to the ground and put up, and that would have been worse, because you'd have to cut off all the bolts then at the floor and drill new holes, and you'd be at the loss of 16 through bolts. So it hasn't cost anything, only my time. So I had the steel there, and as I said, it's just annoying that I cut off 14 inches and now I'm putting back on 6. I just don't know. I still can't figure out where that mistake is, but it's just the time here now. It's taken me about 3 hours to do an hour a pillar. So another hour and I'll have that one done. So I'll have to touch up all the paint on it again, paint it again. And there's a few scuff marks up along the pillars, because I suppose we just threw them in the trailer and brought them home. We were kind of annoyed. And I'll just touch up some of the paint marks on it, and hopefully when we go back up again, everything will line up this time. I'm just here in the slatted shed there. I'm just doing a little job in the first pen in the shed there, where I want to put 11 heifers that are below in the field. Just a bit of the concrete, there's cracks in it there, and I'll show you, turn around the camera and show you. So just at the back of the pen there, there's a pretty wide plinth of concrete. Now this was an existing straw shed. It was a straw bedded shed, and the slats were put into it afterwards, about 20 years later nearly. And I suppose you couldn't go in too close to that wall, as that was a silage pit wall, so you didn't want that collapsing, so we had to stay in. Originally, you can see the pillars there with the sleeves on them. You could walk up the back of the pen there, come in that door, and feed meal along here. There was a wall and a bar then coming along the top. But I took that out of it when I took over this shed to make the pens bigger. And because I was using the dyed feeder, I didn't need this walkway back here. All that was in that walkway anyway was dirt and buckets and rubbish. Everything that could be thrown in there was thrown in there. So it was only a place of gathering dirt. So I cleaned it out. Now, some of this concrete, as you can see, is kind of broken there. And I have it cut there with an angle grinder. I have a steel blade and angle grinder. There's actually no length going through it. Concrete is not very deep. And I just want to dig that out and put a sand mix of concrete in it. And the same there, a little bit there gone as well, and a small bit dug out there. Now you can nearly see that old concrete is back there. By the way, it's just breaking away. There's very little of it in as well, so I'll just dig out them few bits, and it shouldn't take too long, and get a bit of mix of cement made. So I have all that rubble dug out there, and I'm back here after mixing up a bit of concrete. It's lovely actually to see the sun shining into the shed here. Lovely day out, and it was a lovely day yesterday. It's a good day, it's a autumnal day or a winter's day or whatever you call it. It's a lovely crisp day, so hopefully we'll get a bit more of that. But anyway, I'll just show you what I've done here. So I've mixed up there a bit of cement there. I'm actually skimming the back of the pen there because the concrete there is very rough. As you can see along there, it holds all the dung very badly and it's harder to clean it. Now it might look like a bit of mess, and if I had to realise that the concrete was as shallow there, maybe what I might have done was dig it all out and make up a few mixes and completely pour a new floor back there. But then again, this shed needs new slats in the next year or two. So if I'm putting in new slats, I'm definitely not going to pour new concrete back there. But this will just, it's just a botch job really, just cover up those few cracks that are in the floor, make the floor a bit smoother, easier to clean it, easier to wash, dung doesn't get stuck to it. So just putting the skim on it. We'll see how it turns out anyway when it's finished. Now I'll give you the final look at this bit of patching I was doing here in the slatted shed. So that's what it looks like now the next day. It's got it floated off. That wasn't the job I was actually going to do when I came down here. I was really only going to dig out that channel and fill it in. But sure, when I got going, I ended up putting a skim along the whole back of the pen, and has set there nicely. So this is the next day. Real change in the weather. As you can see, it's spilling rain out there today, and nice to have that job done. So it'll even be nicer now for the cattle lying on it. You know, with those rough floor, I'm sure it'd be like yourself lying on a lumpy mattress. It's not too comfortable, and it's probably the same for them. They'd feel those lumps and bumps coming up there. So anyway, another job done. I think I'll leave the video at that. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.